The difference between seeking an immigrant visa and a non-immigrant visa is really based on what the individual wants to do in the United States. So we'll first talk about immigrant visas and then non-immigrant visas. Immigrant visas are for those who intend to reside permanently in the United States. And there are generally one of only two ways to get into the United States and get a green card or permanent residency in the United States based on an immigrant visa. And those are through family or employment. So for example, those individuals who have a specific family member in the United States that are going to sponsor them for a green card can do that, and they would acquire an immigrant visa and go through the immigrant visa process. The other way is through a job offer from a U.S. employer. They would file a petition in the United States, get approved, and based on that job offer, they can get an immigrant visa to live in the United States and get their green card permanently. Now, talking about non-immigrant visas, these are visas involving any type of number of activities. It could be a small short-term visit to the United States for leisure or business purposes, attending a conference, for example, or visiting relatives or vacationing in the United States. It could also be a temporary job offer with a U.S. employer that would allow the individual to stay in the United States for a specific period of time. But then they would need to either renew or extend that visa or get a different type of visa once that visa expires. So again, the difference between immigrant and non-immigrant is whether the individual wants a green card or permanent residency or just needs a visa temporarily for the United States. And one of the questions that we are asked is from individuals who are already in the United States on a non-immigrant visa, for example. They're working for a U.S. employer, but their visa is a temporary visa. And then they decide that they really wish to stay permanently in the United States, and what they really want is a green card or permanent residency. There are ways to move from a non-immigrant visa to that of an immigrant visa. And oftentimes on the employment-based side, that would involve the filing of a permanent job offer from a U.S. employer for that individual to stay and reside permanently in the United States. And we call this process the filing of PERM or labor certification to stay and remain in the United States under a full-time job offer with a U.S. employer. And so what an individual would do is they would speak with their employer, see if they're willing to sponsor them for a green card or for permanent residency. And if everything works out in that regard, we work with the employer to get all of the documentation we need to file the different types of certificates and certifications with different agencies and get them permission to stay in the United States. We would then file for what's called adjustment of status. And that means we adjust their status from that of a non-immigrant to that of an immigrant. And once that process is completed, they would be a permanent resident. And they can keep their permanent residency for life, or generally 5 years after they receive permanent residency, if they want, and it fits within their plans, they can file for U.S. citizenship or a U.S. passport.